Hello, Saints. In our recent Sabbath school lesson, we studied about Jacob and his return to his homeland and to his brother Esau. After 20 years with his uncle Laban, who was deceiving him, Jacob, who was the deceiver, the trickster, had now begun to find some peace in his life. When he came to terms with who he was and what was happening with him, he now wanted to own up to everything, make good on it. And so he makes his way back home. And we see the stories there in chapters 30, 31, 32, 33, and on, how he builds up on this return. I find in this story not just a story of, say, the history of Israel, but in this story of his return, we see a picture of ourselves. We get a glimpse of our own Jacob that's in our own life. How we take control of things. Even if it's something God wants us to do, we can sometimes still have this tendency to want to take control. We'll make it work out, God. This is what you want me to do. I got it from here. I'll take it. It's like we want to take the program to God and say, here, if you just sign off, God, I'm good to go. We got to let it go. We have to let God do what he wants to do in our life. And Jacob was coming to this part. And finally, there at the river where he has the night where he wrestles with the angel, he finally is able to give everything up. But he had already sent everything out ahead of him. His flocks and different groups, his family was sent up last. And so, but now he comes up, a changed man. In fact, this is where he gets his new name, Israel. He says, for what does God say? He says, for you have overcome. He says, your name will no longer be Jacob in chapter 32, verse 28 of Genesis. He says, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. In this, he sees the face of God. He sees grace. And so he changes the name of the area where he's at. Jacob named, verse 30, the place Peniel, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been preserved. He wasn't destroyed. And from there, he goes up and meets his brother. And now, all these people that he sent ahead of him, it tells us there in chapter 33 that, but he, Joseph himself, passed on ahead of them. He bypassed them to go up to his brother. Now he's ready to confront him face to face, not using his material wealth, not using his family as buffers. And as he goes up to him, it says in this verse, that he bows to him 7 times. He's coming to him as not as a brother. Jacob had given everything up, including his family. Now he comes to his brother as Lord, puts everything into his hand, and he is his servant. And so when he comes to him finally, he says, everything that I have is yours. And his brother asks, who are all these people? This is Esau's family, relatives. Esau's embracing them. In chapter 33, we see where, verse 10, where Jacob says to him, no, please. He says, if now I have found favor in your sight, then take my present from my hand. Take all these things. These are all yours. But Jacob says, for I see your face as one sees the face of God. And you have received me favorably. He tells Esau, Peniel, I saw you face to face as the face of God. What did he see? He didn't see his brother as God. He saw his brother as gracious. He saw in his brother's face what he saw in the angel's face when he found acceptance and forgiveness. He found grace. And with that grace, he finally, in his life, found peace. This is something all of you can have. As we come to God to give it to him, we can find grace in the face of God. That, like Jacob, we don't get what we deserve. We get God's acceptance, willing to come to him. What a story that we can take out into the world and share with others. Not a story about a judging God who wants to kill people, but about a God who has grace for those who would come to him and not get what they deserve, but receive love and grace. Be a blessing to others as you go about your day.